Hey nerds, we are going to do a review and breakdown of Arcane Act 2 starting now. Welcome to the Nerd Social. I am Colin.
Oh,
So we have now witnessed Act 2 of Arcane Season 2. There were 3 episodes. Episode 4, the title is Paint the Town Blue, was written by Mcneill, directed by Arnaud Delord, Bart, Maunoury, and Marietta. The log line is that as rumors of Jinx return swirl, Ambessa pursues her target with renewed enthusiasm. Jinx and Sevika go undercover and into the belly of the beast. Episode 5 is called Blister and Bedrock, written by Kristina, Felske. Giovanna, Sarquis, directed by Arnaud Delord and Bart, Maunoury. The logline is Vi awakens to surprising news. An unsettling reunion isn't what it seems. Caitlin uncovers the origins of Shimmer. Episode 6 is The Message Hidden Within the Pattern, written by Alex Yee, directed by Arnaud Delord and Bart, Maunoury. Logline is Healing comes from a familiar face in an unfamiliar place. A stunning betrayal threatens to change countless lives. So, Paula, what are your thoughts about Arcane Act 2 of Season 2?
I love these episodes. A lot of surprises, a lot of emotions. The graphics are amazing. The soundtrack, amazing. So, yeah. Remember.
Yeah, so for me, it really brings it up a notch, the whole series. And there were some complaints online that it was too action-packed. And I'm like, how can you complain about action? There was a lot of action. Also, the storyline moved along in a way where it didn't mess things up and leave a lot of crumbs for people to follow. I think that the main storyline that we've been seeing over Act 1 and also in Season 1, those are the characters that audiences have cared about. Those are the ones that really drive this throughout. And we saw there was a big reveal at the end of Act 1, and we were thinking, who is that? And then we find out in Act 2. So there was a lot of surprises, and also the flashback was really cool as well to give some more backstory to our main characters. And then there were some reappearances of a couple of old characters that came back to this whole story. It's very epic, and I really do enjoy this whole experience, not to mention all the visuals. Those are my spoiler-free thoughts. In terms of rating, Paula, what would you give Act 2?
Oh, I'll give it a 10. I can't believe people were complaining that it was too much action. That's what I love the most.
Yeah, I'm gonna flip it on you because I know that you gave Act 1 a 9 because you didn't want to start off giving it a 10. I think that I'll pull back a little bit and give it a 9 movie marathon for Act 2. I think that a lot of the visuals and a lot of the music, I was enthralled in Act 1. In Act 2, they didn't really emphasize it that much. And I think that there were some elements that kind of dragged it down a little bit. Maybe the breadcrumbs that they put out there, I didn't think that they were necessary, but maybe they were to the grand scheme of the story. I think that the action, again, speaks for itself, and you just have to watch it to really fully appreciate it. We'll see some of the screenshots that I pulled. There were some great action scenes and just unbelievable storytelling, but also the way that they visualize everything. Any other thoughts before we get into spoiler territory?
No.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right. So if you like what we have to say about Arcane and other content that we put out there, please like, share, subscribe for more. We really appreciate your support, and we are growing as a channel. Without further ado, spoilers ahead. Okay. So we start off at the end of Act 1. We see this scene of the wolf hybrid, and we saw the snippets at the end of the episodes of Act 1. And we still didn't know what was going on. We knew that there was some experimentation going. We know the name of the scientist singing, but we got to see a little bit more, which was great. And then there was a nice intro that they popped into where they were putting out the music, Paint the Town Blue. And there was some really good cutscenes. You can definitely see Caitlin was really grasping for revenge because Jinx has been the one that really been elusive It's like her white whale in a lot of ways. And she's just really consumed by the fact that she needs to capture Jinx to restore order in Piltover. Then the big twist that happened at the very beginning of this episode is that she's in a relationship with Maddie. And we saw Maddie back in Act 1 and she was acting young and innocent, and now she's what gives here? I found this very shocking. Paula, what are your thoughts about this?
I like the whole graphic of painting the town blue. It is a great way to show how much support Jinx had been getting. And then onto the scene, I was surprised because I saw Maddie as a immature little girl.
Right.
Yeah, so that was surprised to see her as a woman all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I almost felt like it had been years, like years had gone by. That's not the TV threat.
Yeah. In the story, they said that only months passed by. So it wasn't years, but it did feel like years. So the way that Caitlyn and Vi had a fallout, it's not surprising that this happened. But at the same time, it was still a shock. I was like, what? We just saw her like this, and then now we see her like this, which was very...
Yeah, that's just not going to do well. We all know that Vi and Caitlyn will eventually reconnect.
Yeah, we'll get to that part. Throughout this episode, it really focuses on Jinx and Sevika. Sevika's the one who was the lieutenant to Silco, and she's trying to rally all of the people of Zaun together as part of this revolution against Piltover. She's trying, but she's not really the galvanizing figure that the Zaun people really wanted. You can see here, they really want actually Jinx to be their leader. Even though Jinx does not really want it, we saw a scene of her in her hideout. She's just saying, forget all that. I really don't want to be a part of it. Isha really does want to be a part of it, and this is the scene where she was hooded and she was about to be captured by some of the enforcers, and she was able to escape without detection. The people thought that it was Jinx, but it was not. It was actually Isha that was doing all the rabble-rousing at this point. We then get to see that the enforcers finally captured Singed, and you can tell that he had some hidden agenda that was happening at this point, because he eventually had to cut his hand so that the blood started having a blood trail so that his wolf hybrid was able to come after him. And that scene was scary as hell. It was from the first person's perspective of the wolf hybrid going after the blood scent and then killing all the soldiers. That was very graphic, and not to the extent of an anime, but it was pretty close. They didn't really show all of it there. We also see that Jinx finally decided, okay, Sevika, you have convinced me. I'm going to go and try to rescue, trying to get, what was it? And
yeah, Isha.
Yeah.
Isha.
Oh, they were trying to bring Isha out because Isha was captured at this point by the, by the
coaches into.
Yes. So then we find out that the wolf hybrid started to go into the prison as well because Singed was there and there was a murderous scene that was happening there. It led to a confrontation between Jinx and the wolf hybrid. And you can see here that Isha is being pulled away by Sevika, and Isha's, I want to stay with her. I want to fight. And you can see this is, again, the action scenes that we talk about. This is one of many action scenes that were amazing. And you can also see at the end of the episode, Jinx finds out that the wolf hybrid is Vander, who is Jinx and Vi's surrogate father. So that was really revealing, because did they ever had any hints that he was still alive back in season 1? I don't quite remember.
No, that really just came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Noise whatsoever.
Yeah, I recall that he died, but they didn't explain what happened to him after that.
Yeah, I'm really curious to know what the connection is between Vander and the doctor who turned him.
Right.
If there is any connection.
Yeah, that's a good point, because they didn't really address that as well in Act 2 here. In the next episode, we find that Vi is doing the ballroom brawling, trying to beat everybody up and really have turned dark because of her loss to Caitlyn and being very disillusioned with Caitlyn. And we also see that Ambessa and Caitlyn has captured Singed here. And we find out that his identity, he is an academic who created the Shimmer drug in order to save his daughter, Oriana here. She is in some sort of stasis, and he's trying to do all these experiments because he wants to bring her back from the dead. We then also see a snippet. This is the breadcrumbs that I was talking about in the spoiler-free part, where Mel is in a prison called the Octoloran, and she finds out that her brother is there too. Now, it's a complete fake out that we find out later on. And then this is a scene where Mel is trying to bring out the full potential of her powers. And she's trying to break out of this prison. And that's pretty much the last thing we see of Mel. So there's no resolution yet between Mel and Ambessa, her mother. But again, this is just breadcrumbs for Act 3.
We do find out why the Black Rose has been after Ambessa all of these years. That's she had a child.
Yes.
Out of her marriage, and they've been looking for that child all of this time. And I believe that now they think that Mel is that child. They said something to get towards that. They thought it was her brother, and that realized that he wasn't the one. And so now they're thinking that it's Mel.
Yeah, I definitely didn't catch that. Sometimes having 3 episodes and then digesting it after a day, you don't quite remember these type of details. So that's why I'm glad you're here for us to remember some of this stuff. We then see that Vi and Jinx reunite. And again, they're not in the best of terms at this point, but it's very good of Jinx to tell Vi that, hey, we are trying to fulfill this mission of making sure that we cure Vander, because I think there was a very touching moment where she said, he's your father too. So it's best that we do it together. And also it gives Vi a new sense of who Jinx is, because I think that you mentioned about this, Paula, in the last review, that sometimes Vi thinks of Jinx as still a little girl. And you can see in this picture, she's not a little girl anymore. She's a leader. And I think that this gave her the realization that she's on equal footing or even better footing than where Vi is. There was one scene where she had her weapons, her fists, and then Jinx said, I invented that. What are you talking about? You're just a fighter. That's it. You're not a thinker. You're not an inventor. And it humbled Vi a little bit, but also seeing this really helped her to understand how far she has become since season 1. Then we see this great action scene. You see the visuals on this is amazing. The detail of the jacket is just awe-inspiring. And then again, this is beautiful. It's like art. Like, you want to put this up in art. Yeah, on a poster, or it should be framed. It's so amazing, this art that they come with. Then we also find this flashback. This was really a good flashback. Go ahead, Paula.
No, they do a great job with flashback. I do agree with that.
Mm-hmm. And we have Silco here at the backside, and then we have Vander, and then this mystery woman who we find out is Vi's mother, and also Jinx's mother as well. And it's her explaining that I'm pregnant, but I don't know how to be a mother, and we have to really prioritize things. And this confirms that Vander is a surrogate father, but also Silco, in some ways, is a surrogate father, a more distant surrogate father by the looks of it. They're still activists, they're still revolutionaries, but in different ways with the birth of Vi. And we can see at the end, everyone figures out who they are, and we see a nice touching vacation between the daughters and the father figure. We also see at the very end of this episode, Jace comes back into the picture. We saw him last in the Hex world, and we see here that he killed Sallow, who was the councilman that was in the last episode. I don't remember how he got down there, but it was weird. And this was a random thing. But Jace is going to be very significant toward the end of the next episode. But here, it just didn't make sense. After I watched it, I was like, what is he trying to do here? Don't really know. But that was the end of the second episode. We get to the third episode and we finally see Victor again. We saw Victor in Act 1 basically leaving Jace and saying that I don't want to be a part of this anymore. And he's more of a ethereal, spiritual leader. And you can see he's deeper into the spirituality here. The person, the right is Sky, is a manifestation of the Hex Core being. Then Vi and Jinx and Vander seek out his help to try to cure Vander of his wolf hybrid savagery. And Victor reluctantly agrees to this to happen. And we also see some more backstory of how Victor and Singed were also teacher and student. There's some conflicts between the two. I think Singed is trying to get him to go back with Ambessa and to give up certain things. But again, Victor's, no, I'm too high for this. I'm at a different point in my life. I don't really want to be with this minute type of thing. We also see the reunification between Caitlyn and Vi. And this happens because Vi was somehow following Singed and then ended up bumping into each other. I thought that they were going to be a lot more confrontational, and we see why later on. There was a plot twist coming with these two. But I thought Vi would be more upset, actually, about what's going on. What do you think, Paula?
I just thought that Vi was just going to tell her about her dad and I guess try to seek help. Caitlyn's reaction is what kind of shocked me a little bit. I didn't expect her to react the way she did. I did think she was going to push back a bit. So again, it shows her maturity.
And that she's also like commander-in-chief now, so she has more authority in a lot of ways. We see here that Jace is really still in his angry phase and kills Victor. They were best friends, but they were arguing about the use of the Hex Tech. And I don't know if it's out of jealousy. I think it's more of he is preventing future disasters that would happen. You understand where Jace is coming from because Victor is dangerous in a lot of ways if you see it from his perspective. And Victor is way too powerful for this world. And I think that's why he got really agitated and killed him at the end there. We see this touching moment between the three before Vander goes berserk. And after Jace kills Victor, his cult members' essence started to die off. And it was a really tragic scene where the soul gets sucked away into the heavens and they're just dead at the end. Ambessa launches the attack at the sanctuary. And you can also understand her intentions because she's trying to protect people. And she's trying to make sure that Piltover is protected from a military standpoint. So she doesn't know any of the spiritual parts or anything that's in the gray area. She's definitely much more evil or good. And that's how she sees the world.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know if she's doing this to protect Piltover. I feel like she definitely has other reasons that are more important than protecting Piltover. Maybe she wants power, and it may have to do with the Black Rose as well.
Yeah, definitely. We don't know where it's going right now, but hopefully we can find out in Act 3. There's a nice poem that Victor did at the end before he died. It's a nice dichotomy. And I think that it was a very cynical poem that he was saying that anything good's going to be bad. And there's always going to be that contrast between the two. But you can tell that because he's at a higher state of mind, maybe he's just giving up on humanity. That's probably where his headspace is at before he passed away. We can see here that once Vander goes berserk, Vi and Jinx are trying to battle him, trying to make sure that he's under control. And we get to see that Isha comes out of nowhere, takes a gun, and does a heroic sacrifice. And this is where she looks back at him and does the pew gesture at Jinx, and then at the end, right before Isha shoots up at Vander, and Vi is trying to get Jinx away from the explosion that's going to happen there. A lot of people speculate online whether or not she's dead. Do you think that she's dead here? Because I have no idea. But do you think that she's dead?
I think she is.
Yeah.
I hope she's not.
But I think it would have a lot more weight and consequence if she was. But I could also see the perspective of why kill off such a great character. But it leads to some darker feelings that Jinx might have later on. Some more conflict that's happening, and whether or not Vander also is alive or not, we don't really know at the very end of Act 2 here. So, any other final thoughts before we wrap up on Act 2?
No, I'm excited for Act 3. I feel like there was a lot of things going on, a lot of development.
Yeah, definitely a lot of development in this one. I think they did a great job of making sure that they balanced the storylines. I think that some of the storylines were a little bit, why were they there? The Vi and Jinx story is the one that holds everything together, and I think that they're still doing a great job of telling that story. And all the supporting characters are all very intriguing in their own ways and not disruptive of the main plot line that's going on. So those are our thoughts about Arcane Season 2, Act 2. Tell us what you have to say about Arcane so far. Please comment down below. Like, share, subscribe for more content like this. And we will see you in the next video. All right. Take care, everybody.